Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I am chatting with my friend Crimson. You may recognize him. He's been on other shows like, Utah Outcasts. And he also has his own channel, which goes by Crimson as well, where he does a lot of artwork and stuff like that. And by the way, I've got links to that channel down below, also to his Twitter, if you want to stalk him on Twitter. And I also have his deviant art down there. And I think there's one other one that I put down there, but it's not coming to me right now. So, but anyways, there are 4 of them down there, so you can find, or you can go and see what Crimson's all about. I highly recommend it. I was going to use, I wasn't sure if I was, because the whole, hey, that's my copyright shit and all that. So I was going to use it's Vegeta, by the way, the background for that, but I decided, I didn't want to piss you off or anything. So,
look, I purposely drew that from a movie, from a character, so I don't exactly can say that it's mine, but it's my interpretation.
Yeah, well, it's your art, so it's technically yours. But anyways, what I do here, Crimson, I talk to people about their journeys away from whatever belief systems they were once a part of. So what I generally ask is you kind of take us back to the early days when you were still in some form of a belief system, and how the dominoes sort of fell and you found your way out of it. So it's all up to you now, buddy.
All right. So it basically started when I went to, my mother was part of a church. My father wasn't really big into church until he later on in his life, when he became gravely ill. But my church started a Christian academy. And I don't really want to. Yeah, fuck it. I can talk about it. So the pastor of the church, he basically had his youngest child, and that was the start of the Christian academy. And every time his child moved up in the grade, they would add a grade.
Oh yeah,
and so I was about 2 or 3 years younger than that pastor's child. The fun fact about it is well, I've always had questions. I was never one of the ones where, because it was a Baptist church and they you have to do this. And I would see people go up there and I just would never actually join in that, you do it because of peer pressure. But in 8th grade, I decided to do how nuclear reactors work. And an inconvenient fact came up because my church was a Bible believing, you would hear the Kent Hovind quotes about the flood was real. Yeah. And evolution was a lie. It's and if you know anything about a little bit about science, they have half-lives. The half-life of uranium is about 4.5 billion years. And so it didn't jive with the universe only being 6,000 years old, because you will literally have one half of the rock that's uranium and the other half is lead. So it just didn't make sense. So in high school, I wouldn't say I was a rebel, but I was a baby anarchist and didn't even know the term. So I didn't just fall in line with the system. I was always that weird kid that would I would play along with the system to a point, but just never believed in the brainwashing. It got so much that when I finally hit 18, I was looking for a job. So I was still going to church every week because, I was in my parents' house. So I had to do something on Sundays. I couldn't just skip church. But I started had a job with my church as a janitor on the weekends. So in order to do that, I had to become baptized. But I met my ex-wife within that time frame, and we moved out. And as soon as we moved out, well, I stopped going to church.
Weird how that works, eh?
Man. Now I would go occasionally because, still keeping up appearances, but it was a few other things that happened when my grandmother passed. Like I was literally at the funeral, and the pastor of the church was making not passes, but like ogling my ex-wife. It was like, dude, this is a funeral for my grandmother. And eventually you find out that the pastor was like abusing underage girls. He even went to jail for it here in Chicago. So yeah. So
Wow.
one of the things that started happening as well is I started watching YouTube. And not I don't think I've ever went through an angry atheist phase because of
Yeah, me either.
because it was more of, and I hate to say it where it sounds like demeaning, but I would pity people for holding the belief, and I still do to this day, because even like most of my focus is more on like political and sociological things. It was like I would pity them because I would see it as somebody who's living in a fear, and like I just so fucking understand it. And so when I got into the atheist like channels and things like that, I would see, of course, you would get the skeptics where they're just like, that now are like alt-right, but it's just like, damn, I understand that fear. And it's like ever since then I've been like, of course I saw the Aaron Ross, the 12 the 12, what is it, the 12 points on why the Noah's flood didn't happen, or why creationists, but it was one of those things where especially over the last 5 years I kind of got into the community where it's just like,
Yeah, this
hey,
book actually, this one here, Foundational Falsehoods.
exactly. And it's one of those things where it's just like I started to open up to philosophy, and for a while I just taking that journey out, I went more from a deist to like, if anything, if I was to couch any description, I would say I'm an absurdist, where it's like, I don't know if it's a god, but like if it is, it's like I started making this recent joke. What if we died, you get to heaven, and God was like, I was just trolling people.
Yeah.
That's all that bullshit. Like, yeah, no, I'm just fucking with you. And it's just fun, and it's allowed me to like be a little bit more. I don't know about God, I don't know about religion. As far as the mythical beings, it's just like it's allowed me to open up just my imagination to a lot of great things. And one of the early steps to my journey, and I hate to say it like this, but I don't want to I credit a young teens book series to just thinking about like, yo, some of this is just bullshit, or some of this is stolen. I don't know if you ever heard of the book series Percy Jackson's and the Olympians.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen the movie.
I started reading the books when I was about, I want to say 30. And
Okay.
that was just like, it just one of those things where it's just like, it got me from not being afraid to admit like that, yo, some of this is just bullshit. And you don't have to have that fear of, oh no, you need to question it, because when you look at a lot of different mythologies, you start losing that whole thing of just like, wait, why is this one true and this one is not?
Yeah.
But they say some of the same things.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, the Bible in and of itself really is just a big book of mythology. It's got all kinds of fantastical beasts and miraculous happenings and shit that just doesn't happen in reality. So when, Old and New Testament, even the Quran as well. I mean, it's got like dude flying up in a fucking winged horse. Like, come on, man. He found Pegasus? Would he borrow it from the Greeks? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. Like, I was always a fan of, like, I didn't read the Odyssey like too many, like, oh god, I couldn't, not the Odyssey. I couldn't do the Iliad. because it was just like it was just too much for me to follow. But I love reading the Odyssey. Now maybe it didn't help that because Odysseus kept bedding like really, really powerful and strong women. Not to mention that they look good, but like still, I was always a big fan of mythology.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I viewed the books. I grew up in the Jewish community, right? I was raised. It's weird because I was born to a Christian couple, and they gave me up for adoption because my birth dad's mom was very staunch Catholic. So and having kids out of wedlock was a big no. So they put me up for adoption. Of course, they found me about in the year 2000. We found each other, and or they found me, and then I learned all this stuff. And yeah, so I was born to Christians, given up for adoption, and then raised by Jews. So if Christianity is the right way, then why the hell would God have me raised by Jews who don't believe in Christ?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, one of the things is like I've never understood until I actually looked into it, but the problem with evil, it just never made sense to me. And how, if like this is an all-powerful, all-knowing creator being, why would you let evil exist?
Right.
And it's just one of those things where it's just like it just never made sense to me. And just coming off of like I don't want to say I don't want to put it like this, but like coming up in a black church, we used to hear things like, "Oh, we're the chosen people, and God put us through this struggle so we can believe more." Like, and then they would equate that to the children of Israel because they struggled, and it's just like, and I go back at it and think like some of the shit that they struggle with is just like God wanted to flex his power.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's just like I look at now some of the stuff that I was taught, and they're right. They get you when you're a kid because they like kids are stupid. Like, oh fuck, I would say kids are stupid, but adults are stupid too. Hence Washington D.C. But it's just like they don't have the life experience to know what some bullshit is. I should say. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. Whoopsie daisy. Sorry, I'm just sending my producer the code so he can get in here.
No problem.
All right. Yeah. So when you were actually going to church, even as a youngster, you didn't really have a big belief in it. You were just putting, like you were saying earlier, putting in appearances, that kind of thing. Or?
So I would go to church and where you'll see people get moved by the Spirit. I never actually felt that.
No?
I was one of those people who. So the phrase "it's not what you say, it's how you say it."
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me because I listen to what people say.
Well, I mean, do you listen if they say it in a way that you don't like? Or is that more of a in one ear out the other situation?
So I think it's one of my strengths as my chosen line of work. I do call center stuff and usually troubleshooting. I listen to what people say. I've always been that way. So if somebody smiles sick, oh, I think you should I really think that I really, really would like if you do this for me, please. And if you don't, I feel real hurt. You just told me that if you don't do what I say, then I'm gonna be pissed at you. Like I listen to this shit, and it's sometimes, of course, with stuff like that, you can interject your own feelings. But if I know exactly what you're saying, no matter how sweet you dress it up with or how much verbose you actually do, I hear the shit that you're saying. And like it was one of the things that was evident to me of how I always felt uneasy with it. there was recently a Amazon Video Prime show, where they were talking about some of the hooks that preachers actually use, and I recognized a lot of it, but it's just like it just never resonated with me. I I I can say that now I get more emotional resonance from scenes in different anime than what I would get from past preaching. Like,
Me too.
it's at least a connection there, not just like you have to feel this is important. It needs to be important. You need to understand this. It's just like, come on, like, and
Yeah, first of all, how is it important?
exactly.
Like something that's, I mean, if you want me to consider something like that to be important, you got to demonstrate that any of that shit is fucking real, in my opinion.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, when you actually listen to certain creation myths,
Mhm.
you see that it's just like, for example, I learned the creation myth of how men were created in from the creation myth from the Egyptian mythology. It
Mhm.
is literally almost verbatim for, well, the maker god took a clay and formed man
Yeah.
and made like and
There's a few like that, actually.
and one of the things that, like, this is the reason why I see that there's such a problem with, especially the Christian religion, with the way I was taught. They would say outside knowledge is bad. It's bad. You shouldn't listen to it. It's the devil. Where it was just like they didn't want the competition.
Yeah, I've never, you hear that a lot. Like, um, I've even seen church signs that say reason is the pathway to the devil, or something along those lines, which
So
is just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
God uses the foolishness of man to confound the wise. Like,
Sure.
it's literally written into the Bible where Paul was like, um, yeah, what God considers, or what you God consider wise, men will consider foolish. And it's one of those things of, it literally is what cults do.
Hmm.
And what's the difference between a religion and a cult? The amount of members.
Pretty much, right? They both pretty much follow the or they both are under the bite model, definitely for sure. Definitely. I mean, behavioral control,
Yeah.
information control, thought control, and emotional control.
And what kind of always what kind of always kind of just stuck in my craw is just like, you would literally sit down once a week to get emotionally brought up by, like, I was in the Baptist church, so they had the great songs, and right before the preacher preaches, it's that somber song, and they
Mhm.
bring you to to the point where you hear it and you're ready to hear it. It's like, and I mean, like, coming up in the church, I did the whole 9 yards, where it was I from Sunday school to learning speeches and doing plays, and it was just such an indoctrination. And
Mhm.
then when you get to old enough to start making decisions on your own and starting to seeing it, then it's just like, you don't want to upset your family. Your great grandmother believed it, your grandmother believed it, and it's just like, they used to believe, fuck, some people still do believe that the earth is flat, but
I
like,
don't get that at all.
well, it goes to it, like, when you actually drill down to it, it always comes back to religion, because they always still reference the Bible.
Yeah.
And, like, I get it. Things are scary. Like, it's fucking scary to actually think that, and I use the analogy that you're in a car with the windows blacked out, and there's a cliff somewhere around, and and you realize, oh shit, there's no driver, And what's even scarier is to think, oh shit, I'm actually the driver and I'm behind the wheel. I get that. It's so fucking scary. But this is the situation that we're in. And like, I get, and I don't want to like super equivocate like some of the things that I see. Cause like, if you go to my channel, you notice I do a lot of political shit. I do a lot of political commentary. I do a lot of cultural commentary. But it's just this whole idea that I wish that we as a species can actually get away from of just needing to create a hero, needing to say like, take my problems, I don't want to deal with it. And it's just it's something that religion has primed us for, but we need to step out of that, because if we don't, we have shit like some demigod riling up people because they're hurt, because they're scared, because they're fearful, to literally perform an insurrection.
You mean like what's going on right now?
Yes. Oh God, yes. And I fucking get it. It's fucking fearful. But like, as with religion, it's just like, it's okay. It can, like, you can actually take responsibility for your poor choices, but also take responsibility for your great choices. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, I marveled on my Facebook post today, where it's just like, how many people, and again, maybe this is just me being a baby anarchist, but how many people just do things because they're told?
Lots. I bet you. Lots.
And even more, how many people do things because they're afraid? They're afraid of standing out. They're afraid of disappointing somebody.
Yeah. I'm sure it happens from time to time. I've been there before, where I just did something just to make someone happy or something. Yeah.
And the thing about it is, so many people betray who they really are to fit in, or not to make a point, or not to make a fuss, or just to feel comfort in what they've been told or what they want to believe. And it's kind of disappointing.
How so?
It's disappointing because it limits who you are, and it advocates responsibility for the choices that you've actually made. How many times have you seen people, as religious people, where they say, I'm doing this because it's right in the Bible, but they shun their children. They hate on somebody that's different from them, and they advocate like that decision to, well, because the Bible says.
Right.
And like, and then it's twisted in some cases to the point where it's just like, it's nowhere near in the Bible, but because somebody that they put faith in, that says they speak for their deity, they don't go to check. They don't know to check. They don't go to reference. They don't go to examine. But they were told, well, because the Bible says. And it's just one of those things where it's always rubbed me the wrong way with religion, because you have these people who claim to speak for an all-powerful deity who knows how to convince everybody, because they're all powerful, they're all knowing, knows how to convince everybody, but says, "Nah, I'm gonna hide this somewhere. I'm gonna hide somewhere where you can't see it. And it's gonna be based on faith."
It's ridiculous. I mean, he's omnipresent being, apparently. If that were the case, we would all fucking know of its existence.
I mean, like, people in the Marvel universe know more about the one above all than God.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
nobody's ever brought that up before. That's funny.
I mean, like, this is like, I mean, like, let's be honest, comic books now are new mythology. But
Oh, yeah.
when you can look at like comic books and you can see a better depiction of of an all powerful being than what's in the scriptures, it's just like, oh shit. I mean, like, even if you want to go, and I'm such a fucking nerd, but even if you want to go to DC and you have the presence, even he's a better representation of an all-knowing being than what you see in some of the texts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I'm just nerded out there for a second.
That's perfectly okay. I'm a big nerd, too. I was going to say, yeah, Mikey says Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, he's pretty close to getting to a god, but that's the DC universe now. Well, DC bought out those guys,
but even Dr. Manhattan, he became so far immune to people. They was like, I'm gonna leave y'all the fuck alone.
He moved to Mars. He lives on fucking Mars now.
And we're not gonna talk about Doomsday Clock. Like, no, we're gonna leave Doomsday Clock alone and just like, no, fuck that.
Why, you didn't like it?
No, hell no. No. Oh God, no. Oh, like, oh God. In the end, in the new Watchmen universe, they had little Clark, which is their version of Super. Like, no, stop. Like, oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, I had my issues with it, but I didn't hate the show. I thought it was pretty good.
No, I'm talking about the actual Doomsday Clock in the comic book.
In the comic book.
Yeah.
Which was actually quite a far cry from the TV show.
Yes, I didn't see the TV show. But The Watchmen is one of my favorite movies. I see why Alan Moore didn't like the description, because Zack Snyder tried to make Rorschach cool, but like, no, like, he was pathetic in that. Like, he was just really pathetic, and like, God, this is gonna nerd out, but that was the question, as if the question didn't have any limits. Like, you already know the question in DC is kind of fucking crazy, but it's the question if he didn't have any limits. And God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no kidding. Dr. Fate's another one.
Oh God. See, this is why I like Marvel versus DC. Because even though they are in some cases wildly more powerful, even the most powerful people are more human than what you have the paragons of DC.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the Paragon. God, maybe that's one of the root reasons why. It just seems like the Paragons in DC sound as if somebody like changed a couple of things from what you see in the Bible, and just like, hey, we have Paragons again, and it's just like,
yeah. I got something to show you, by the way. It's my Rorschach mask. And actually, the little parts that are gray, when you breathe, they disappear and come back. So it's like it's changing shape. It's cool.
Oh, cool.
I'm still putting together the actual full costume because I'm going to try and do him for Halloween next year.
I thought you were going to do the Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was my other big purchase recently. But it's handmade, right? So you're going to pay for shit like that. I was looking up earlier today. I was looking up the actual armor pieces for it, which people have also made out of the same material too, I found out. And it's going to cost me pretty close to $1,000 to put it together, to piece it together. So thank you, Mikey. Yeah, but you know what? It's fucking worth it, man. Because I've seen some of the art, some of the made pieces, but I got to make sure that it fits me. Because you can, for the outfit itself, the helmet is like a one size sort of thing, and it's snug on me, but it does fit.
Yeah, I don't think that my head would be small enough to fit inside of it.
I don't know, I got a pretty massive cranium too, man. But my nose does kind of push up against the glass piece in the middle.
Mhm.
It's
I
okay.
know. I actually recently went out, and it's a little bit dark to see it. And let me just cut on my light right quick. But I'm actually redesigning my set where I have like I put I'm a real big fan of blade weapons. So I have my Highlander sword in the back. I just got a new
That's dope.
fuck, what is that called? Middle ages inspired dagger that I'm hanging up, and I'm gonna put a little bit more art pieces. Like I was never one to as much as I go to anime conventions to sell my art, I just do not see myself dressing up as a character. But I would be
Why?
no, I it's just not me. I've done one cosplay before in my life, and I just and the funniest
Who was
fucking
it? Who was
thing,
it? Who'd you do? Who'd you do?
Kenpachi from Ziggurat.
No way, really?
Yes,
Awesome.
yes, yes. I I I'm a big fan of more than American comics. I'm a big fan of manga and anime.
Yep.
And Kenpachi was just like one of those ones, just like he was insane, but he knew he was insane. And he was like, and he called out other people's bullshit. And there was the issue in Bleach where like he was the representation of Ichigo's fighting spirit. He's like, you can say it's bullshit about you want to protect people and you don't want to make sure people destroy the people die, but no, you love fighting. You really love fighting. And Byakuya was also there. It's like, no, dude, you love fighting too. And one of my favorite scenes in Bleach is God, where the Rankai arc, right when Ichigo goes off to save, Karakura town,
Mhm.
and you have Byakuya, Kenpachi, and the Zero Espada. They're fighting, and they're fighting the Espada, and it was like, get out of my way. It's like, you're uncouth, and you get out of my way. And it was like, you got a problem with me? And the Espada's like, yo, guys, I thought we were fighting me here. And it was like, shut up, stay out of it. And at the end of the arc, like, you see them walk out of Waco Mundo, like limping and shit, like with their shohakusho torn,
Yeah.
and they walking out limping, and it's like, yeah, I guess it's the end of it. And you see the spotted leg like laying down. Not that he's dead, it's just like that was one hell of a fight. And I would have loved to see that fight because that three-way battle would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know, but they don't show it.
Exactly.
It appears I ran out of beer. That's okay. I've got more right here.
I'm one of those people that does life sober.
Yeah, that's okay, man. Whatever works for
No, it's not. Oh God, no, it's not.
you. Why?
Oh God. Have you ever tried to do life sober with all of the shit that's going on right now?
Yeah, I have. That's why I went back to drinking. I do that, and I like my weed too. And I live in Canada, in Vancouver, BC, as a matter of fact, where some of the best weed is made here. So
I'm confused about America North because Canada isn't a real country.
American North. Well, we're all North America.
Uh,
Technically, we're all Americans.
no, it's an inside joke that this idiot YouTuber that I watch, he literally said it's America North. But are the best cities on the West Coast, East Coast, or like in the middle? Like I know Toronto, that's close to where is that? That's close to Detroit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's near there. Yeah.
And I know Vancouver's on
And
the
Chicago. It's north of you.
right. Now, are there any good cities like on the eastern coast?
Any good city? Well, sure. There's Montreal.
Montreal, that's what it is.
Montreal. There's Quebec. There's Fort St. John. There's Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is a lot of fun.
Wasn't Montreal, or is it was like the oldest settlement in North America, oldest permanent settlement in North America?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I would think it would be somewhere in like Labrador or something.
But yeah, I am not as familiar with the geography of Canada because I look at it and I see like I know that it's populated in some areas as our Montana or North Dakota or something.
There you go.
And that big ass Hudson Bay is sitting there.
X says Regina is one of the oldest settlements in North America.
Okay.
Only because of how it's pronounced. All right, that's enough out of you, X. And Abram goes, yeah, Halifax is okay. I like Halifax, man.
Yeah, I've never traveled out of the country. I want to so bad. But seeing that the US is now become like
a cesspool.
No, we've been a cesspool. But the build a wall is what everybody's saying else around our country.
Don't do that, because then everyone else is going to be tempted to fill it with water, dude. They used to say that about Quebec. We go, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, build a wall around Quebec. That's great. As soon as you're done, we'll fill it with water. Get rid of you.
Now, isn't some separatist movement being moved in Quebec? And it's just like, but why you guys have just such a better country right now?
Well, I don't know, better. It's different. I think we've got stuff that you guys should have, like, you know, our medical stuff and
$2,000 fucking relief checks every month. Like,
yeah.
A leader that can complete sentences.
X isn't moving here. USA. I will give you guys credit for kicking our butts in the World Junior Hockey Championship the other day. That doesn't happen often, so enjoy it while it lasts.
Wow. Wait a minute.
That's right.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that a country, like an example of how a Western country, even a diverse country, can have all these things for its citizenry. Fuck, I can't speak right now. But that's actually less important than the junior hockey world tournament.
World Juniors, yeah.
World Junior. Yeah. I take the trade.
You guys had a great fucking team this year. That's all I can tell you. But you got to think about something. Considering our population size versus your guys' population size, the fact that we keep coming up with some fucking prime hockey teams for the Olympics, for World Juniors, with the amount of people that we have, mind you, here hockey is practically a religion. Mm-hmm. You're born into it, and you're fucking eating, breathing, sleeping, smoking, showering hockey all the time. It's like a culture here. Not so much in the US, but they do have their areas where it is, like Detroit and Chicago and New York, you know, where the big teams are, the original 6 ones.
Right.
And so there are some great places down there that you know, eat, breathe hockey as well. But you guys should have a really good team all the time, just based on your population versus ours.
Well, we tend to like our people with CTE to go into football than hockey.
Yeah. Your guys' game is like baseball and football are the big ones down there. I don't even think our football league is coming back because of the pandemic. We had the CFL, and I actually worked with a guy that used to play for our team here, the BC Lions, many years ago. He actually played in the NFL too, but briefly.
I want to say this. Just mention so I live in Chicago. I live in the Chicagoland area. So one of my favorite coaches, and probably one of the reasons why I stopped watching football, was Lovie Smith got fired. All because they wanted to replace him with a friend who was at the general managers at the time. They replaced a 10-3 coach for a 8-8 and a 3-10 coach. So like that was the best decision we ever made. Dude went 8-8 and 10-3. So yeah, that stopped me with watching football. Ironically, that was one of the reasons why football was one of the reasons why I had an excuse to not go to church. And then eventually I was like,
I was going to ask you that too.
I was like, oh, wait, like it was certain things like that kind of like that Lovie Smith thing. And I actually saw a wide receiver. You know, what's one thing that's very disturbing when you watch football? The hits. I saw somebody heels touch the back of his helmet.
Ooh.
He broke his back. He was lucky to walk again.
Holy shit.
So I was like, oh, that. And then people that have like the CTE, it's like I'm Chicago Bears fan. The Fridge. He used to do something called Bears Post Game Live. Mm-hmm. He played in the NFL for years. One season he was good, and then the next season he started talking like this.
Wow. Because of being hit so much, you think?
Yeah, because it catches up with you. It's like once you hit like 40 or 50, it starts catching up with you. And yeah, I saw that and I was like, I can't consciously watch that. Like I and then you get people that like make excuses like, oh, they're adults, they know what they're doing. Like, really? Do they know what they're doing? You start seeing the things about people who actually would be killing themselves, like Junior Seance. He shot himself in the heart so they can examine his brain because he thought there was something wrong with him. I forget what that guy's name, Ray something, who had his pregnant wife killed, and the child was born with just like what was it? Did he have? I know he had some learning disabilities. He was like really hampered, and it's just like it was just one of those things, and it's just like, and I still see people that like defend watching football. I still see people that defend having their children play football. And you get football stars who say, like, no, my child is not going to play this shit. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, you guys see that it's hurting people, right? You guys
wants to know why you're in the dark.
I'm trying to get the great mood. Like, it's one of those things too. Like, I have studio lights. So I have studio lights. And the thing about it is they're fucking harsh. And not only that, I
suntan from the lights.
So I'm gonna say this, fuck capitalism, because I work 9 to 10 hours a day looking at a computer screen.
Yeah.
So when I do my videos, I tend to try to turn off my lights because with a bright light, my eyes feel like they're going to start bleeding.
Right.
Now, I have the blue light glasses, and it's one of those things where it's difficult to wear those glasses while wearing the costing of headphones. But like anytime I can get away with using lights, without using lights, I fucking love it. And but we all got to pray. All got to pay a penance to, the worship of our great God, capitalism. May he be praised. And God, I don't want to like wrap it around too much, but it's also one of those things where it's just like we have such a dogmatic view of things, and God, I like fuck capitalism. Now, I'm somebody like, would I love socialism? Fuck yes. Would I love communism? I don't know, but like if it's better than what we're doing right now, it's better than what we're doing right now to people, where more workers can have democratic control of their job, and it doesn't have to be like God, if you want to actually say that, well, somebody invested the money, they should have some sort of control. Cool. Let them have 50% and let the workers have the other 50%. I'm not in the whole thing of just like people who work for shit shouldn't get any compensation for the things that they work. Yeah, but like instead of having regular capitalism, let's have super capitalism. We can have super capitalism. Like people always say, the owners have more invested into a company than just the workers. Cool. Let's make the workers part owners too.
Yeah. Give them a chunk. That's what they did before the guy that owned the company I work for now sold it. Mm-hmm. Everyone got a little piece, right? And of course, I ended up putting it into the, when they sold the company, we got whatever was made from it. So there's at least a few $1,000 or whatever. I threw that into RSPs, which I ended up using later on anyways for something that came up that I needed the money for, but I still have stuff set aside, but that's okay.
And one of the things with like a lot, it goes back to like it kind of goes back to like people needing to have a hierarchy. It goes back to just wanting to like say that I want to be on top and somebody should be beneath me, or I need to be on top because the dumb plebes beneath me doesn't know. It's like I think that's one of the things that I see a lot of people that have a fear of socialist things or communist things, because they fear that people aren't smart enough to lead themselves. Mm-hmm. And I don't even like. I think that a lot of things that we see in our country, like we've had such a mix of things where it's designed to just like, it's the tool of religion, it's the tool of racism, it's the tool of classism, where it a lot of these things, if it was just in and of themselves, wouldn't be bad, but people are using them to foster their own ends and like control the masses because they fear that their own power is lost. Like, and it's on any sides, and I hate to do equivocations, but it's on the right side, it's on the left. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of the term tankies.
I don't think so.
Okay, so on the left, there are these people that are Marxist-Leninists, mm-hmm. where they feel the best way, like the best way of bringing in the communist society is to have a vanguard of people who makes decisions for the rest of the plebes. It's what Stalin actually did. Like, and it's just like, if you're really for the people, you would want to decentralize power more. But it's to me, a lot of these grifts are just like, I want to hold power and I want to use whatever tools I can to keep that power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The form of communism I lived under when I actually lived in Israel was a kibbutz. But it's more of a communistic type of thing where everyone has, they go out and they do the same amount of work. Everyone puts in their hours. All the stuff that's made for the kibbutz or kafar, which is a village, gets put into a central sort of thing, and it's divvied out equally to everyone, right? And that's fine if that's what you like.
And you know what? And I one of the things that I would say with my kind of ideal is, I know it's overused, but each according to his needs, each according to his ability. But it doesn't mean like you see people on the right that's always like, you just want equality of outcome. Like, no, equality of opportunity does not equal equality of outcome.
No,
Some
not even
people
close.
think some like I'm a fucking artist. So for me to say that, no, I want everybody to be the same. Like, I know that there are certain things as an artist that I can't do. Even though I may believe that everybody can pick up a pen and draw something, there are certain things that I wouldn't say that I can learn the way that somebody else has learned. Just like I wouldn't say somebody can learn the way I learn. But in the end, we should all have a right to grab a pencil and piece of paper to say, like, here, this is what I can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that a lot of people that make an argument about you just want equality of outcome, they really realize that they're mediocre as shit, that they really don't have any talent, that they think that if somebody such as somebody with my skin affliction has the same opportunity that they have, that they would be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disheartening. It's disheartening because it leads to people actually just living in that fear again. And it's okay to be afraid. And I think that's one of the things, that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to admit that you may be weak in some form. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They build up walls to say that, hey, no, I'm not afraid, or hey, I'm strong because mythical, magical being right here says that I'm strong, and I'm strong in that person. It's just like, why? Why? But,
well, this is why we don't believe in that shit anymore.
No. I mean, like, shit, like, I at least, like, if you pray to, like, I'm not gonna make the George Carlin joke about praying to Joe Pesci, but like, if you pray to, like, I don't know, if you want to use a deity like Zeus or Thor or Horus, they can at least, like, if they don't answer, it's part of their nature to be just assholes. Like, and not the Marvel fucking movie version of Thor. Like, I'm talking about red bearded motherfucking wild man Thor that's just like, yo, let's go fuck with some giants right now. Like, that motherfucker.
What's that mean? What's that mean? Thor said he was going to get rid of all the frost giants. Do you see any frost giants, people?
Oh God. Like, and it's just like, and that's one of the things that leaving religion has actually allowed me to do, like dive into some more mythology. Oh God. Like, some of the mythology is fun. Like, some mythology is really, really fun. I want to get to a lot of the Japanese mythology, because some of that is just really fucking awesome. Huh?
Like the Shintoism stuff?
Yeah, like, some of their deities are so fucking awesome. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, wow, like, that's one of the things that I like about anime. Like, you see some of the concepts with some of the deities like spread over like so many different areas. Like, I love what the Japanese have done with like Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's like Hellsing was fucking awesome.
Yep.
Castlevania, the way they did Castlevania was awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
What's another one? The depiction of the devil is never as, like, in most animes, the Christian concept of the devils and angels, usually the angels are the assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And the devils and the demons, like, we just
watch Angel Beats.
Oh, Evangelion.
Yeah, Evangelion, yeah.
Yes. What was another one that came out recently was one that I saw was called Blue Exorcist, and even that one was just like,
yes. That's not recent though. That's been around for a while.
I know, but like recent to me is like 5 years. So, but yeah, that one was actually interesting. The twist to the end was just like, you realize, in spoiler alerts, that the Night of the Blue Flames, it wasn't that Satan was going around just killing people indiscriminately. He was trying to protect his wife and his kids. And it's like, oh shit. We have sympathy for Satan, like, of course, and like, let's not talk about like different versions of Lucifer or Satan. Like, if you haven't watched the Netflix show now, Lucifer, that's actually fucking awesome.
I have not watched Lucifer.
Oh wow! Now it's not like the comic version.
It's filmed here though. It's filmed where I live.
Yeah, I thought they were in LA now. Did they move?
Oh, actually, you're right. They did move down. There was the first 2 seasons, I think, are done here, and then they moved it down to LA.
But yeah, that was the I didn't tell, I like, and it's actually biblical too. It's, I've never made the mortals do anything that they didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you kind of see that in the Bible. Nobody is doing, like, the devil made me do it is nowhere in the Bible.
No, it's not. There's lots that isn't in the Bible that they claim is.
And I want to actually, God, if I ever like have the time for it, I do want to pick up the Divine Comedy.
Mm-hmm.
There was a video game recently, like, that was called, recently, 10 years, within the last 10 years, called Dante's Inferno, that takes the first.
I played it.
Yeah, they made an anime from it. Like, they made it in
really?
like, yeah, it's on Hulu, where they've actually like had like broken up into 3 different distinct art styles. But yeah, they have Dante's Inferno, the anime version of it.
Huh? I had no idea they did that.
Yeah,
on Hulu. Shit, maybe I should sub to that channel.
So yeah.
Well, one thing before we close out the show, because it's a couple of minutes left here, and then we'll get into an after party. You're cool with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of want to know how you ended up getting involved with the kids over at UK Outcasts.
Actually, I saw it in my feed one day, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, oh, it's pretty interesting. And I made a comment, but it's like, I just became a regular watcher of the show, and it's just like, they were looking for someone to jump on one time. I think this was 2018 or 17. I forget, but it's like, I jumped in. It's being 38, about to be 39. Ironically, I get a lot of jokes that X talks about.
Yeah.
Like, surprisingly, I like some of the same things that I watched when I was younger. It's just one of those things, and it's actually a really fun show.
Oh no, it totally is.
It's like kindred spirits, and that's the one great thing about the internet. You get to meet so many different people that because I remember a time before internet,
mm-hmm.
and it was shit. Like, you were only stuck with the people that you knew directly around you, and oh god, it was shit. And being somebody who thought differently than a lot of other people, and I won't say better, because I thought differently.
Yeah.
It's like, when you are like, the internet is like, and I tell people this all the time, the internet is the closest thing that we have to telepathy.
I never thought about it that way.
I mean, like, and especially with smartphones, it is the closest thing that we have to telepathy. And like, if human beings ever get mind reading powers, like our training wheels will be the internet and social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. That's for sure. Closest thing to telepathy.
I mean, like, I'm halfway crazy. I haven't went there yet. Like, with the events of this last 2 months is pushing me to 75%, but I'm sitting at about 55, 60 maybe.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't blame you. Looking what's going on down there, it's a fucking shit show. That's for sure.
Oh,
like that's an understatement, but you know.
In being with somebody's on, I'm hardcore on the left. I'm seriously on the left, but like even people on the left sometimes just like words have definition.
There's extremists in every camp, dude.
I know, and like it's like people in my life that's in my offline are just like, how do you do it? How do you dive into politics so much? And I have to tell them, how do I dive into politics, philosophy so much? I have to, because if nobody is looking, so much shit will go past. And and this is one of the things that I actually want to say. So I'm gonna be a little bit more serious for this one. One of the things that I really want to see is two things that I want to see in my channel. I want to see people more engaged. I know it may actually like drown out my channel because there are more people that may have better skills that people want to watch. I want to really expand the scope of people actually getting on YouTube, expressing themselves, also doing research, not just talking out of their ass. But I want
like flat earthers.
Exactly. I want to actually see more people actually engaging. And COVID has been a fucked up thing, but it forced people to actually become used to actually speaking to other people over the internet. And I just want more people to actually engage. And it is kind of also a personal reason. One of the reasons why I've been doing YouTube myself for the last 3-4 years is I want more representation of people like me, Black people, because we have more. I grew up in a time where I was lucky enough to have the internet, a personal computer in my home, but so many of us, and this is just a social economic thing, didn't have the access to the technology that I had to. And I've seen other people like, and I'm just to drop a few names, like more mainstream people like Comics Explain or Blurred Without Fear. These are people that are Black people that do nerd stuff. Or I see people in the atheist community like Dragon Silvius. He like, I've seen these, and it's just like we see a lot of these spaces that are populated by people that don't look like us, and it push people's off, where it's just like, hey, start being normalized, start having this normalization that we're people too, so we don't get shot in the fucking street because we're been othered. So yeah, that's one of my goals, not to foment some rise of the woke, the fuck, whatever they call the shit that like some of these other guys is like, Black people need to stand up and take over. I'm more of like, let's do just normalization of people and humanization of everybody. So yeah.
I mean, honestly, man, I grew up in a neighborhood. I think we had one Black family that lived literally around the corner from me. And so I never saw a lot of the stuff that you hear about, right? I never grew up where a lot of that stuff is going on because in my neighborhood, everyone was friends with everyone. We had people from all different ethnic backgrounds. So I grew up knowing things as being, oh, that's just, Dave or whatever his name was, a different color than me. Same with the Chinese guy down the road and the East Indian fellow that lives down the road. And they all look different, but we're all neighbors and we all treat each other with respect. And that's just the way I grew up. Of course, I'm not saying that I didn't see racism. Of course, I saw racism. I was a victim of it too, growing up as a Jew. Not that Jews are a race, but it's a religion, not a race. But I grew up with the bigotry, we'll say, right?
Right.
And I hated it, and I hated seeing it happen, and I hate the fact that it's still systemic, and I hate the fact that there's nothing I can do about it. There are times when I wish I was one of those demigods like you see in the DC universe, where I could just snap my fucking fingers and people would smarten their asses up. Like, because it pisses me the fuck off. Because I have an expression that I use all the time. There's one race, people, the human race, and just like every other fucking species on the planet, we come in a variety. Get used to it. Right?
And like, oh God, like, and that's one of the dishonest bullshit that I hate the creationists use. They literally try to use Charles Darwin as a like that. Oh God, that just triggered me.
Yeah, well, I know where you're going with this. Yeah,
like Charles Darwin was like, "Hey, wait a minute, the Aboriginal people from these lands are more civilized than white folks." No, he's a racist because he used favorite races. It's like you don't fucking. Oh God, you don't fucking get it.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
So,
but anyways, brother, let's get into an after party, and we'll have some more folks in here. Have a little bit more fun, talk about more anime and crazy shit like that. But Crimson, man, I'm so glad you reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to come on." This has been so much fun chatting with you.
Hey, it's been fun. It's been fun. Unfortunately, I love talking about shit for a long period
That's
of time.
not unfortunate. It's a good thing.
It's almost as if I have a YouTube channel to do the shit, right?
Well, he does, and it's linked below, guys. So go and check it out below. You'll see a couple of framed pieces right behind him. Those are on his DeviantArt. Just so you guys know that. All right. Once again, my friend, thank you very much for jumping in with me for the hour.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, brother. My pleasure. And a couple of mentions before we go. I'm going to start out with saying a great big hug and kiss for all my patrons out there. You guys are amazing. You're the ones that keep Mikey. Where's the thingy? You guys are the ones keeping the show going. Patrons, man. Patrons. This one. Said we both hit it at the same time. All right, so yes, thanks to all my patrons because you guys, this show keeps going and improving all the time. Don't forget that Randolph and I are starting up our own show coming up pretty soon called True North Talk. So it'll be just like those other call-in shows, you know, the ones I'm talking about, Atheist Experience, Truth Wanted, and Talk Heathen. By the way, I've actually been on Truth Wanted and Talk Heathen, so go and look for those ones. Also, the Nonprofits. I am now one of the hosts of the Nonprofits, along with the lovely Jenna Mew, who's in the chat. I think she might still be in the chat. I'm not sure. And every last Saturday of every month, myself, Andy, and Seamus get together with a guest, and we all talk about all kinds of crazy things, and it's called Drinking Out Loud. Atheists Drinking Out Loud. And it's a lot of fun to do. Don't forget that my new schedule these days is Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays as opposed to the old Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, because I needed those Wednesdays to do the nonprofit show. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. So like I always say at the end of the interviews, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, oh, before I'd say that, thanks for hanging out in the chat, guys. Like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we will see you guys next time.